Hey everybody, it's Jill at Reading in the Rock, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. It's June, which means we're almost halfway through the year. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. All right, hopping right in with question number 1, the best book I've read in 2022. If you watched my previous video, you know my tops so far is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. But since I've already talked about that, I'm going to feature a runner-up that I just finished, and that is Lobizona. And I'm not going to discuss much about this yet because my book club is meeting about it Tuesday night, and I'll have a review following that. But this made me feel like the first time you read Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, Divergent. It made me feel like that again. And that's something that I think anybody who's been reading for a while knows the feeling of seeking that first time feeling again. And I absolutely got that with this. Look for a review coming up soon because there's so much more I want to say about it. Straight on to question number 2, the best sequel that I've read this year. And this is a Green Brothers Stan account, obviously. So I read An Absolutely Remarkable Thing last year, and the best sequel of the year has to go to A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor. Now, I read the whole ACOTAR series this year. There's some great sequels in that, but Hank has my heart. I'm not normally a sci-fi person, but I do like that this makes sci-fi a little more accessible. It's very character driven instead of driven by the sci-fi element itself. I love that it deals with how technology and our everyday life affect each other and how those are affected by industry, but all while solving a mystery that was in the first book. I won't spoil that for you, but this series by Hank Green, even if you're not a sci-fi person, you care about the characters enough. And I do like I said, the message that it takes on about industry and technology and the relationship they have to each other. Okay, next question is a new release that I haven't gotten to read yet. And that has to be Flying Solo by Linda Holmes. Linda Holmes wrote Evie Drake Starts Over, which even I, as not a super romance person, really liked. It has that coastal romance feel, but it's got a little humor element to it. So I'm really excited to try Flying Solo as a summer read. Linda is also the book correspondent on NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour. She's very in the book world, and I just enjoy everything she puts out, both in text and in her podcast. So can't wait to read Flying Solo. Can't wait to get my hands on a copy as another hopefully warm summer read like Evie Drake was. My most anticipated read for the second half of the year is one that I just got the ARC for through NetGalley. And if you watched my first video once again, you know I loved Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. He is releasing his new book November 7th. That's right, I was just double checking on that. And that's called Now is the Time to Panic. Now the blurbs are a little bit mysterious, and I'm excited. It has kind of a whimsical element, much like Nothing to See Here did, it feels like. So I'm super excited to get on that arc as soon as I get caught up. Very excited. Thank you, NetGalley, and to the publisher for letting me have a sneak peek at that, and I can't wait to share that one with you. And on to the other end of the spectrum with my biggest disappointment so far of the year, and that has to be Survive the Night by Riley Sager. And I know that now after I've read this, a lot of people said that is one of his worst works, but this was not a great start for me. That character gave me straight up don't go in there energy the entire time. Just poor choice after poor choice after poor choice. I was really excited about the 90s pop culture element, but it just didn't hold a candle for me. It's the only book I've given 2 stars this year, but I'm willing to try Riley Sager again, knowing what I know now. So if you have a Riley rec, drop that in the comments. My biggest surprise of the year has to go to Severance by Ling Ma. Now, I read an ebook of that, so here's what it looks like. And man, am I glad I didn't trust my gut on this one. After reading the blurb, it just didn't sound up my alley at all. But after several friends with super good taste started reading it and loving it, I decided to give it a try, and I'm so glad I did. In the story, young millennial office worker continues working even after the whole world is just being bombarded by a plague. And this was written pre-COVID. So I think it was a little Foreshadowing. I actually just finished Ling Ma's short story collection, which is going to be released in July or September. Stay tuned for that. But it just confirms what Severance showed me the first time, which is that Ling Ma is just an absolute master at dropping something apocalyptic and crazy and ridiculous and dropping it into an everyday context. It's almost like if Black Mirror was set in just some random normal person's life, and it's just exquisitely done. Ling Ma, Severance, big surprise for me this year. All right, moving right along to my favorite new author. Now, this is more of a new to me author, but that would have to be Margarita Montemor. Now, if you watch my other video, I already mentioned Una Out of Order, which she wrote, but I'm currently listening to the ALC, Advanced Listener Copy, of Acts of Violet, and let me just tell you, I'm halfway through and you're not going to want to miss this one. Similarly to Una, this is just a totally unique story. Her storytelling is vivid and different and unique and keeps you on your toes. I am really enjoying the fact that there's a little bit of a magical element, but it's actually told through podcasts, which is similar to another book that I read earlier, which makes it really cool as an audiobook. So I'm going to recommend the audiobook of this one. But she's writing stuff that is like what nobody else is doing, and it is hitting exactly the right notes for me this year. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. Now, I know I'm in the minority in the book community, but I don't really do the whole fictional crush thing. However, we do love a good fictional couple on this channel. So I'm gonna have to go with Rachel and Nicholas from Crazy Rich Asians. They seem very balanced, and the story seems, well, I mean, as much as a story about opulent wealth can feel realistic, it feels realistic. I know this is not a new book for 2022, far from it. I'm way behind on this one, but I just really love them and I was really rooting for them. And a lot of times the couples in books just feel too sappy or too much like emotion involved, and they just felt really balanced and good. So Rachel and Nicholas, this one's for you. Number 9 is my new favorite character, and since I've already mentioned the book, I'm not going to pull it back out again, and I won't spend too long here, but Manuela from Lobizona. And I'm gonna just leave it to sit there because I cannot wait to talk about this one more with everybody after my book club meets tomorrow night. But she is strong and unique and a breath of fresh air and so much good representation in her life story. And I can't wait to see what comes next in the series because I care so much about this character. So it has to be Manuela. All right, number 10. A book that made me cry has to go to Dutch House by Ann Patchett. Now, I have lent out my copy currently, but here's what it looks like. Dutch House, the storytelling alone is just absolutely beautiful, but there is a familial relationship in that book that feels very close and tender to me, and no spoilers, but the ending did have me in tears. So tissue box warning on that. Okay, number 11, a book that made me happy. I'm not gonna cop out and do Under the Whispering Door again because you all know that TJ has my heart on the happiness. But this made me happy for a different reason. Excuse me. I Kissed Shara Wheeler. The reason this made me happy, I know there are some pretty heavy topics in this book, but it made me happy to see kids that are not always given representation in YA or high school romances and rom-coms get their moment in this book. I was theater kid, I was all of those things, and those kids get their shining moment in this book. And I just really loved that. I know that this is a YA. It was a YA that would have spoken to me very deeply when I was in that age demographic, and it made me happy to see kids that aren't your typical high schoolers getting their moment. Here for it. The most beautiful book I've bought this year. Now that I think about this might have technically been last year, but we're going to call it anyway. It was No Gods, No Monsters. Now, I went cover on this one because I mean, look at that foiling. Look at that artwork. Also, open up the dust jacket. Just absolutely stunning. Now, the book is a bit of a mess. It has a little bit of an identity crisis. My book club read this. It was kind of across the board. We were like, what did we just read? It's crazy. But is that cover not a stunner? Just, I mean, I could just do this right here all day. The last official question of the tag, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? And that answer is frankly a lot. My TBR cart runneth over. Thanks, YouTube, Bookstagram, all of you. But I'm gonna feature 3 that really need to be priority TBR for me at the moment, because either like I'm really excited about them or they're ones I've been meaning to get to for a while. So let me go through those. I'm just gonna highlight 3 of the ones I need to read. Book lovers, Emily Henry. If you're anywhere in this world at all, you know that this has been a list topper for a lot of people. I'm saving this for my airport read for a trip coming up. Good summer vacation read, it feels like. So I'm holding on to her for that moment. Now, I know I'm so behind here. I know I'm very behind on this one. I have not jumped on the Kristen Hanna train yet. So the 4 Winds, I'm gonna try to get this read by the end of summer because she's a thick girl. And I've been wanting to read her. Every time I pick it up, it's just not the mood that I'm in, which is typically my problem. Again, that's a big undertaking. However, I've heard nothing but beautiful things about the 4 Winds. So it's a priority for me to get finished by the end of the year. And last but not least, this is a nonfiction book that I've been meaning to get to. Again, it just kind of gets lost in the TBR shuffle, Crying in H Mart. I tried the audiobook, but I knew with this one, I just felt like the written word would be more powerful, so I just paused it and came back. I'm so excited about it. The little bit of the audiobook I did listen to was beautiful, but again, this just felt like it would have more impact in the written word, and I'm so ready to get into it next time I'm in a nonfiction mood. And as a grand finale to this video, let's do a little stats rundown. My Goodreads goal was 100 for the year, and that's actually wound up being kind of a very minimal floor. So I'm very excited to be at 68 books. And according to Storygraph, in those 68 books, I've read 19,864 pages. Now, I am a big audiobook girl, so I don't really know how those convert. My moods are primarily emotional. Enneagram 4, guilty as charged. My pace, I like a good medium pace book. As you can tell, my thrillers are more sparse. My horror, my romance are more sparse. So I know those are typically the more fast paced. I like a good medium pace. Page numbers, just medium. 300 to 499 is my typical. I think probably ACOTAR bumped that up just a little bit, and I made an exception for those, but typically that does make sense. I read more fiction than nonfiction, which isn't surprising, but I do like to sprinkle nonfiction in. Sorry, I'm reading these from my iPad below this. Contemporary is my top genre, but I was really surprised to see romance so high. Maybe I need to reevaluate telling people I don't like romance, because typically I don't, but I am learning the brand of it that I like. And it kind of sneaks in through other genres too, so maybe that's just how it's counting it. All right, format, mostly print, but we do love an audiobook. If I'm reading a digital copy, it's normally because it's an ARC or that I've gotten from publishers, or it is something that has been kind of hard to come by and I get it on Libby, as was the case with like Severance. So I don't read a ton of ebooks unless it fits one of those categories. Best reading months have been January and June. However, May, end of the school year, was kind of a slump for me, because, you know, kindergarten, end of year, didn't exactly have a ton of motivation. I primarily rate books 4 stars, and that's not surprising. I'll give anything a chance. I can find the good in just about any book. So 4 stars is a pretty typical one for me, and that is the end of this video. So, can't wait to see you later this week on Thursday. And if you would like to see what's coming up next, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to hear reviews for these books a little more quickly, hop on over and follow me on Instagram at reading.in.the.rock to get those reviews a little bit quicker and a little more bite-sized content. But until then, I will see you on Thursday, and have a great week. Happy reading.